Hi everyone, Velvet here, and I have 3 stories for you today. Let's get started. Our first story comes from Kaleidoscope Old 3504. Am I the beehole for telling my niece she'll have to move out if she's not my nanny anymore? I'm a single mom to 2 kids, 8 and 6. I work as a nurse 3 days a week. I work 12-hour shifts, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. After my husband passed, I needed a nanny to tend to my kids from the time they got off school, 3 p.m., onwards. I decided a live-in was the best choice. I have 1 guest bedroom. I live right near a university. Around this time, my niece had just gotten accepted. She wanted to save cost on dorms and offered to watch my kids for those 3 days, if she could live there rent-free. I agreed, and I said I'd also pay her $22 an hour, a competitive rate for our area. She's done with her classes by 1, so it works out. She fixes them dinner and puts them to bed. Then she's free to do whatever. But of course, I pay her from 3 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. It worked for 2 years. My niece never had any complaints. Now, however, my niece is getting a paid internship related to her major starting this January. She wouldn't be available to watch my kids. I congratulated her and said I could help her look into student housing or an apartment. We'd have 3 months to do this. She was confused. I said, since I would need a live-in and only have 1 guest room, she would have to move out. My niece got upset and said this isn't fair. She won't be able to save any money if she gets a dorm or an apartment. She could afford to live on her own, but wouldn't have much savings. I pointed out this would work best for me, as I had put my kids in aftercare the other 2 days I work. I get off around 5, and a nanny could just pick them up from school versus them having to stay there so long. My niece argued that the nanny could leave at the end of her shift, but after speaking to some nannies, they understandably don't want to drive home so late. Plus, I'm fine with the nanny and my niece sleeping after the kids do. So, there's no sense in them sleeping, then waking up and driving so drowsy. Even I feel nervous driving home so late, especially after my long shift. My sister-in-law, her mom, feels this is unfair to my niece, but she moved in under the condition that she'd work as a nanny. My sister-in-law and brother live 3 hours away, so niece couldn't commute if she moved back in with them. They feel I should try to find a nanny who'd be willing to drive home at 12:30 a.m. It'd take me half an hour minimum to get home. But all the nannies I've spoken to have said no or either expressed concern about their safety driving so late. Am I the beehole? Edit. To answer from the FAQ, the internship is all semester long. My niece isn't interested in nannying at all going forward, and will instead be pursuing internships. She has no desire to work after her internship is over for the day. She knew from the jump that I was only looking for a live-in, specifically for childcare. I have also provided her with a written notice and covering my posterior legally. I'm gonna go with no. No, you are not the beehole. She knew what this was. She moved into your house to be a live-in nanny, and that your spare room is intended for a nanny to watch your children. She can't just demand you change the agreement. It also sounds like you're covering yourself legally, so I don't have really much to say on that part. Sounds like you're doing what you need to do. Good luck on your search for a new nanny. Our next story comes from Wata Ba 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 7864. Am I the beehole for not allowing my daughter to wear something because it's ugly? Edit. I have to clarify here, this is not about my daughter being upset. She's not upset with me. She looked at it and said that I was right and she had not noticed. This is about the validity of the statements of my mother-in-law and husband. So I have a daughter who is 14, my husband is 41, and I'm 38. My daughter, Courtney, is really into Y2K style right now. It's more Bratz dolls, less real early 2000s fashion. She receives a monthly allowance from us to have a little autonomy. Last week, she went to a thrift store with her older sister and bought the ugliest tie-dye miniskirt imaginable. It's brownish and honestly looks like she had a poop accident, as one of the stains is around her bum area. Yesterday, she came down wearing that skirt, and her grandma said, "Absolutely not. That is too short. Go change." My daughter started protesting and asked me about it. I said that the length was fine, but I did not want her to go out in something that makes it look like she had an accident. My mother-in-law started shooting daggers at me after I said that. My daughter went upstairs and changed into a pair of shorts. While she was up, she told me that it was inappropriate what I let my daughter do, and I was mocking her by what I said. Also, I was showing her that it's okay to be shallow by buying into trends. Honestly, I wasn't concerned until my husband came home saying he agreed with his mother, and he was not a fan of how I handled this. I'm very confused. She's wearing normal girl stuff, not scandalous, it's normal. But my husband said it's stupid that I draw the line at ugly. Am I the beehole? I'm going to say you're not the beehole on this one. Your mother-in-law needs to stay out of your way and let you parent your child the way you're going to parent your child. Now, if she does have some concerns, she should tell you in private, not in front of your child like that, or try to parent your child for you. And also, you did the right thing. My family does that all the time. Hey, you look bad in that, go change. Or hey, your blah blah blah's hanging out, go change. It's having your child's back. Well, having your family's back. And your husband needs to have your back. There's a lot of stories like that where the spouse never has the other one's back when they need them to have their back. It's so weird. But yeah, I believe you handled the situation just fine. Our third and final story comes from Remarkable Office 177. Am I the beehole? Got telling my daughter-in-law that she isn't my kid and she isn't invited to a daughter's lunch. I have two daughters, when they were younger with my wife, and I realized that I spent more time with the boys and she spent more time with the girls. So we made father-daughter dates for me and she does mom and son dates. They're all adults now, but we still do those dates, but they're just less often. So my two daughters and I are going to have a tea house. The youngest picked it and just caught up. Now my oldest son got married to Sue. She's a nice girl and I see her at holidays and other events. I got a call from Sue asking about the times for tea. I was confused and asked what she was talking about. She explained the daughter-father date and that she's my daughter-in-law. I told her this was just a thing between me and my daughters. She repeated that she's my daughter-in-law. This went on for a while, until I told her that she isn't my kid and she's not invited. She hung up, and now I'm getting calls from my oldest, my son, her husband, for being a jerk and not welcoming her into the family. Update. I had a conversation with my son. He's the one who mentioned it. I explained what happened, and he told me that is what he heard from Sue after she calmed down. He called me a jerk since she was crying and he thought I flipped out on her. I also talked to Sue, and she gave an apology, and I apologized for being harsh. She heard about it from my son and thought it would be a nice way to get closer to my daughters. I explained the tradition, and she told me she understood from the first call. She panicked since I told her no, so she kept repeating. She told me she was quite embarrassed, and she asked if she was still invited to the Halloween dinner coming up. She is. She wants a closer relationship with my daughters since she's an only girl on her family. I told her that this is a conversation with them. Trying to force yourself into traditions won't help that. I suggested we'd invite them out to a winery or something. Also, she did find this thread. I'm gonna say you're not the beehole on this. It's a tradition you have with your children, and she's trying to force her way into it. It sounds like you've got it all figured out though after the update, and you guys have clarified everything and are, fine. So that's all I have to say about this one. Sounds like there's a happy ending at the end of this one. Alright everybody, and that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Can you please do me a favor? Like, comment, and subscribe, and share the video around? It's really going to help the channel out. Velvet out.